State law requires this body to announce at this time that a copy of the current Open Meetings Act is available at the back of the room where it is accessible to the public. Sisson.
Here.
McDermott.
Here.
Gibbons.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
Euchre.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Thank you. If we can all stand, please, for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 1, consent agenda. Approve this agenda, pay the claims as submitted, and approve the minutes of the June 21st, 2022 regular council meeting.
Motion to approve.
Ben Johnson makes the motion.
I'll second.
Second by Dale Harrington.
Smith.
Yes.
Sisson.
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
Gibbons.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Euchre.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. It is now time for the public forum. I just ask you to please be respectful of the city council who has voted here by the community of Hope Beach.
Anybody public forum? Nope, just me? Okay. My name is Jess Lammers. I don't think I need an introduction at this point, but here I am. I always like to start off with a joke. So do you know why husbands are like pancakes? Because you never should be afraid to throw out the first one. So, ladies, don't laugh. Some of you are still on your starter husbands. If it procreates, floats, or flies, it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy. But I'm not here to talk to you about 413 West 4th Avenue tonight, but that is where I learned that if a man had enough horse sense to treat his wife like a thoroughbred, she'd never grow into an old nag. What I want to talk about tonight is crosswalks. Crosswalks for the children. My mama's lived over on Blaine Street like 25 years now, and I've seen a whole bunch of car wrecks, but there's never been a whole bunch of kids in the neighborhood because, you know, the neighborhood was primarily geriatric. As that has changed, there are children in the neighborhood. The city, in its infinite wisdom, built a storage unit with 26 stalls across the street from the swimming pool. Now, as a guy who's been around the 2nd and Blaine Street intersection for 25-ish years, you now have approximately 26 vehicles extra coming down that street that don't realize it's a dead end. Like, once you hit Giesenhagen's Reliable Pest Control, you're going over the railroad tracks or making a right-hand turn into the swimming pool parking lot, and now you're going the wrong way down the one way to drop off the kiddies at the pool. So I'm confused. The swimming pool's been there a long time. I've been around this community on and off for 41 years, I think I am. There has never been a crosswalk there crossing the street at the swimming pool. And I guess I'm asking why. Why don't we have a crosswalk? We've got increased traffic. You're abutted to a commercial zone. There's no signs that say slow, children playing, swimming pool, nothing. People come around that park curve at 30, 40 mile an hour all the time. Shit, Ben lives on that corner. So I know Ben's seen it. I've seen it. I think it should be a four-way stop, personally. I don't know if the council or the street department or a traffic study would warrant that pursuant to Nebraska revised statutes, and I'll leave that up to your attorney. She's capable. That being said, crosswalk at the swimming pool. What do you all think? Do I need to announce names and like go down the line, or can someone other than Ms. McDermott and Ms. Nelson interact with me? A lot of testicles at the room, but I don't see any leadership.
There's a crosswalk at 4th and Hancock.
But I'm talking about 2nd and Blaine, right at the entrance to the pool.
That's a highway where that crosswalk is.
Yeah, but you're bringing traffic that doesn't know what's going on at that intersection down there because you're developing the commercial area.
You don't need testicles to have leadership. You said you've been there around 25, 40 years. Where exactly, you know, if you've been watching that close, where exactly do you, based on what you've seen, where exactly do you think would be the most effective place to put a
I think there needs to be
crosswalk?
a crosswalk at the intersection of Second and Blaine, going, you know, north to south, from Blaine Street to what would be the swimming pool parking lot, or from, that would be on the west side of the street. And on the east side of the street, I mean, if you wanted to put a crosswalk there, the little plastic strips on the street, whatever. Even if you did the hologram ones that make people think it's a speed bump. But I'm telling you, a new family moved into that corner, they got kids. There's a new family on the other side of my mama's house that got kids. And on multiple occasions, I have directed children out of the street.
Like they were trying to cross, but they weren't, like,
Well, they weren't being safe around traffic, they were playing in the street. I mean, and it happens, kids will be kids, but I'm telling you, somebody that's not familiar with that neighborhood is gonna come around one of them corners and hit a kid. And I'll tell you the same thing I told now Chief McIntyre, I don't wanna be the one that has to scoop a kid up off the street. I don't know if anyone else wants to have to do that or not. But I don't want to have to do that, and it's right in front of my house. It'll probably be my mother, unfortunately.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lammers. We can look into that.
That's all I have for you today. Good luck.
Thank you. Anybody else want to address the council on items that is not on the agenda? Now's the time and the place. If not, we will move to item number 3. Consider the final reading of Ordinance 2459, amending Chapter 7, Article 12, Section 11-1207 of the Holdridge Municipal Code related to subdivision regulations, administration, and enforcement. Any questions before Dane reads the final reading? Dane?
Final reading, ordinance 2459. An ordinance to amend chapter 11, article 12, section 11-1207 of the Holdridge Municipal Code related to subdivision regulations, administration, and enforcement. To repeal all other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, to provide for the severability of all parts hereof, and to designate the time described when this ordinance shall be in effect, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Holdridge, Nebraska.
Thank you, Dane. Motion to approve.
I so move.
Dale Harrington.
Second.
Mike Sisson.
Bucher,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
yes,
Gibbon,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried. Item 4, consider an electric rate review by JK Energy Consulting.
You want to say a few words before I start, or Brian?
This is John. I put in your packets a while back that he was gonna be doing a rate study for us. Well, he's been working on it. We've met a couple times with him, myself and others, and he's finally got it done, and he's gonna go over it with you.
I think this is the first rate study since 2014.
2014, we've been in need of a rate study.
And they normally recommend a rate study every 3 years.
Every 3 years, correct.
I got it.
Yes, so we're kinda behind the 8 ball a little bit here.
There you go.
All right. Mayor, members of the council, as Brian said, my name is John Kraske. I'm you can see the last name is pronounced the way it's spelled, not really, but I'm an electric consultant. I've worked in the utility business for about 30 years. I'm actually, if you want to call my headquarters, I live over north of Smithfield, so this is a nice short drive. I was down in Lincoln for most of the last 30 years. I recently moved back to the area to be closer to my parents, who live out at Johnson Lake. So it's good to have a client within 30 miles of my house for once instead of much further away. So I appreciate the chance to be here. Look forward to going through this with you. As Brian said, I'll just give you a quick overview of the presentation, go through, talk about financial results, which are a big driver of future rate changes, talk about the cost of service, go through some rate design issues, talk about how your rates compare to neighboring utilities, and then just go through the recommendations. There will be I believe you have a resolution in your packet for action. And I'm going to go through one real quick change at the very end of it, that we're going to still offer the resolution for adoption, but there may be a slight tweak to one of the rates in about probably the next 2 meetings or so. That doesn't going to change revenue, but I'll talk about that. It affects irrigation rates, but it's nothing major. So, so just here's the purpose of the study. The main thing I want to look at is financial performance of the utility, and basically make sure you have enough money coming in to handle the bills that are going out. You have a lot of expenses associated with purchase power, with capital projects that you have, and keeping the lines reliable, keeping your local system built. And there's a lot of costs associated with that, so we want to make sure you're collecting enough money to pay those bills. We want to develop rates that reflect what the cost of service is. Because this is a monopoly type service, you can't just charge your customers whatever you want. You have requirements under state law that you have to set rates that are fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory. If you don't do that, somebody can sue you. And the last thing I want is for one of my clients to get sued over their electric rates. But again, we gotta make sure that we're collecting enough money, make sure each customer class is paying the appropriate cost. And then if we can meet those goals and still be competitive with your neighbors like Southern, like NPPD, all the better. And your rates are very competitive with those folks. So as we go through this, you'll see what I'm proposing in terms of rate changes to go forward and to implement that. So wow, I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure why that's looking that way. Yeah, I apologize for the presentation looks a little funky, and I apologize for that. But so I do a multi-year projection of your rates. I don't like to set rates just based on what's going to happen next year. I try to look into the future 2, 3, 4 years, so that you're not in a situation where, say, you raise rates 5% this year, but then something changes 2 years down the road and you need to lower them, or that you lower rates 2% this year only to raise them 8% next year. So I try to look over term, what do your rates need to be based on things that I know that are changing on your system. Now, I projected in your current fiscal year, you have plenty of money. I mean, you're paying your bills. You have a surplus. The issue is that by 2025, you're going to have a deficit, and there's a couple things that are driving that. The first thing is you have a major capital project. You're building a 34-5 line rebuild over on the east side of town. That costs money. There's been a lot of talk about supply chains, material costs. I'm sure Brian's told you all that just even ordering transformers right now, you have no idea what they're going to cost until they go into manufacturing. So with that line project, the costs were somewhat higher probably than what you originally projected, but it's necessary. You need it to ensure reliable service to the city. So what happens though, and then the other thing that's happening is NPPD has had what's called a power cost adjustment, a credit for the last 3 years. Right now, it's about 10% of your power bill from NPPD is actually them returning money to you that they've accumulated over the last 3 years. We don't know if that's going to continue in the future. In fact, my conversations with NPPD indicate that at some point in the next couple of years, that most likely will go away. So if we look 3 years in the future, you have a deficit. Between those two things, right now you're not collecting enough from your customers to be where you need to be financially in a couple of years, in 2025. And so I could just tell you to keep your rates where they are. Everybody would be happy, fireworks would go off. My concern though is that 3 years from now, you might need a 10 or 12% rate increase. And the last thing I'd like to do is get you behind the 8 ball financially and then have maybe you're okay with it, maybe it's your successors, but maybe it's some of you that are up here saying, oh, we need a 10% rate increase now. And I don't want to put you in that kind of position. I'd like to see you implement a series of smaller rate increases, knowing that you'll need the money in the future, but that it has a less dramatic impact on your customers. And that's really the goal of the phasing in the rate change over the next couple of years. All right, that looks a lot better. And again, one thing I want to point out too is, these projections are subject to a lot of uncertainty. If you had told me 2 years ago that gasoline would cost $5 a gallon right now, I would have said you're crazy, but here we are. There are a lot of materials things going on, wages that are going on, materials costs. I can't tell you what the future is. If I did, I wouldn't be sitting here. I would be spending a couple hours a day on the phone with my stockbroker or my commodities broker, and I wouldn't be working, but I don't. I will say though that your utility has done a good job of managing its costs. Your costs compared to your neighbors and your rates overall, you're on a fairly efficient utility. Your rates are competitive with larger neighbors like NPPD, and I think that speaks a lot for a utility of the size where you're at. So, with that said, with the potential changes in the future cost of the line, what we know about what might happen with NPPD's rates, I'm recommending a series of rate increases, 3% this year for fiscal year 2023. That would be again October 1st of 2022. Another rate increase of about 3% in fiscal year 2024, and then a 1.5% rate increase in 2025. So now the question is, do I just raise everybody's rates 3%, or do I look at what individual cost components are? And that's part, I think that's an important part of the study, is figuring out, all right, where should we raise the rates, as opposed to just blanket increasing everybody's costs 3%. So we do a cost of service analysis to determine that. That helps us determine which rate classes need changes. Do I need to direct the rate increase at your customer charge versus the energy rate? Should there be other structural changes that occur? So in general, pretty much all of your rate classes need some kind of a rate increase, but I will say that your residential, rural, your industrial, which is BD, and your irrigation rates are basically the ones that probably should see bigger increases than other classes. Irrigation no control, that's another one that needs to be, and we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing with the no control and the irrigation rates in a little bit as well. Also, the analysis showed that summer season rates should go up more than winter season rates. And I think that makes a lot of sense. You use more electricity in the summer when it's hot. NPPD's rates are higher in the summer, particularly the demand rates that you pay. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And so you'll see with the rate changes that the summer rates are going to go up a little bit more than the winter rates. So looking at rate design, I talked about these goals already, and I don't know what's going on with these I apologize for the...
I think it's because we're sharing the screen on ours with our Zoom.
Okay, got it. All right, that makes sense. That makes sense. So here's a few things that we're doing rate-wise. I'd say the first one is probably the most key, is that your customer charge right now is well below the cost of providing service. When I looked at the cost of service, and when I think of what customer charges should cover, it covers the cost of having a meter, covers the cost of the line going into the house, it covers a part of the transformer that's serving that house, it covers a minimal part of your system just to get power to every single house on your system or commercial account or whatever. Covers the cost of sending out a bill, of collecting that bill, and doing all those things. And your customer, the cost, what I would calculate to serve a single customer, even if they don't use any energy, turn a single light on the entire month, is about $21 a month. And that's quite a bit higher than what your current cost of customer is. And over time, this is going to become more important, and it doesn't really affect you right now. But one of the big issues the utility industry is facing in other parts of the country, and starting in Nebraska, is a concept called net metering. It's where someone installs a solar panel on their house and basically spins the meter backward when the sun isn't shining, and then spins the meter forward when at night, and then at the end of the month they pay whatever their net usage is over the course of the month. And if you size your solar panel just right, you may not have any energy usage. And so you may only be collecting the customer charge from that customer. And if you're only collecting $8 or $10 a month from them as opposed to $21, you're losing money. You're really losing money off that customer. So I think it's very important that your customer charge reflect the cost of service. And I'll say too, it also tends to discriminate against, if you have too low of a customer charge, against folks who, let's say they live in an older house. Let's say they're on fixed income, they've owned the house for 100 years, they can't afford new windows, insulation, all those kinds of things. And so they end up paying a higher energy charge and a lower customer charge. You're actually hurting those types of customers as well, the people who can't afford to put in new windows, insulation, do all those kinds of things. So I just think from a fairness standpoint, it's appropriate, and from a cost of service standpoint, it's appropriate to start raising that customer charge over the next 3 years. I'm also suggesting that you roll the street lighting charge. Right now, if you look at your rate schedule, it's more complicated than a menu at Cheesecake Factory because they got all these things in there. You can't figure out, okay, how much do I got to pay per month, so what I'm proposing to do is to roll the customer charge and the lighting charge into a single fee. And so when you look at the bill, it's going to say your residential bill is this. If you look at the commercial bill, it's this. You don't have to look at 3 different places in your rate schedule to figure out what it is. Another thing that I'm looking at doing, proposing, is that you eliminate the rural rate class. There's not a lot of difference between the cost of serving your customers in the rural areas compared to the folks in town. You don't have a lot of density. Now, I've worked in areas where it's appropriate. I have a client where they serve a 20-mile rural line that goes out of town. There's one customer every quarter mile, half mile, mile. That's not the case with your rural. You have a fairly compact system. You don't have that many customers on it. You're not collecting that much of a surcharge on those customers. I think it's appropriate just to roll them into your regular residential rate. That'll make your billing a lot easier as well. And then you don't have to necessarily figure out, okay, is this customer on which side of the corporate limits is this customer on? And I think if you look at folks like NPPD, for example, they've gotten away from the rural, urban rate differential. I'm working with another client. Over the next 3 years, we're eliminating that. Dawson Public Power doesn't have a differential, so I mean, it's less common to see that right now. So next thing with irrigation rates. Right now, you have a full control, a partial control, and a no control. And what that means is for no control, they can run whenever they want. 105 degrees out, they can run. The full and partial control gives the city the chance to curtail them if NPPD has a billable hot day like today where there's billable demand. You can say, all right, we're going to shut you down. It's gotten to the point, though, where NPPD has really narrowed the number of hours down where they control customers. And so there's not really as much of a need to have the full control. So I think what we're going to do is get rid of the full control rate and turn it into the partial control rate. So you're going to have more of a limited number of hours. Now, those full control customers are going to get a little bit higher bill, but they're going to be able to run more hours. So I think that's a good trade-off for them. I think it makes things a lot easier for Brian as well as he manages the load control system. So there's just a few irrigation customers. You're not Southern with, with 10,000 wells across your system, but this will improve service to those customers. All right, probably the most, I'll say the most substantial thing in here is with regard to the industrial rate, and that's the BD rate. So as it stands right now, you have a pass-through rate to them that basically takes your NPPD energy bill, your demand bill, takes those components and passes it through to them without markup. You do add on a 10% franchise fee for them. That franchise fee does not go to the utility, it goes directly to the city. So as it stands from the electric department standpoint, they're basically getting enough money to pay NPPD, but they're not getting enough money to maintain the transformers, to send out the bill, to do all the things associated with serving them. And yeah, the city's getting a nice franchise fee, which is appropriate, but the utility doesn't have the money to replace transformers, do all the things that are necessary to provide service. And right now, the only reason that you're even getting by is that PCA that you're collecting from NPPD. That isn't getting passed through to, the way the rate's set up is that doesn't get passed through to BD. If you were passing that through or that goes away, then you're not collecting any margin on BD to pay for the electric department. I'm proposing that over the next 2 years, keep the franchise fee, the 10%, but implement in 2 steps a 3% increasing to 6% as a utility surcharge to basically cover the cost of those transformers and to cover the cost of everything associated with serving them, to make sure that there's not a gap there, that the city's making out okay just fine, but you're losing. And what's happening is that your other electric customers, if there is a transformer goes bad out there, you have a service call that is not, you know, outside of service normal hours, all those types of expenses that you incur to serve them, that's being borne by the rest of your customers. And from a cost of service standpoint, this is justified. It's, you know, if they sue you, I'll go into court and I'll say, hey, they weren't collecting enough before, they should be collecting this. We're not aware of any contractual limitations. We couldn't find a contract with them. We think this has just been a gentleman's agreement over the years. I think this is appropriate, it's defensible, it's what you need to make sure the utility has sufficient money to pay the bills to serve them, okay? That's probably the most controversial thing in my recommendations, but I think it's probably the most important as well in terms of making sure that you have, that you're following the cost of service and charging fair rates. So I want to pause on that one and ask if there's any questions about that. All right, you guys are easy tonight. So I will tell you, I did, about 15 years ago, I did a rate study for Holdridge when I was working for the Nebraska Municipal Power Pool. I had a mayor who he wanted to keep things moving along, and I can't remember his name now, but he would have had me out of here by now. He would have said, hurry up, get it done. But I appreciate that you're intently listening. And with the rate changes I'm proposing, this shows you where your rates. It's Lexington on the far right, on the top one, Lexington, then Holdridge, Southern, Hastings, which is a bigger city again, and then Nebraska Public Power District, which serves in Kearney. Those are the local utilities that I chose to compare your rates to. You look very good in the summer. In the winter, you tend to be a little on the higher range, but you're still, I would say if you looked at a weighted average over the course of a year, your residential customers are paying rates that are pretty competitive, and you're definitely paying rates that are below what NPPD is charging. I would note too that all those utilities tend to be larger than you. Lexington, I think, is about a 40 megawatt peak. You're about 30, so yeah, they're bigger than you.
Yeah, 25.
Yeah, you're 25,
Yep,
so.
yep.
Hastings, of course, they're about 100 megawatt peak. I mean, so all these other utilities, I chose utilities that are larger than you, and shows that even though you're smaller than them, you're still running a pretty efficient operation and keeping your rates competitive. So, so again, and I apologize for the way the presentation looks, but overall, indicate by 2025 you need about a 6% increase, and that's just to break even. I'm proposing that the cost service analysis indicates that you should increase rates pretty much for all of your rate classes, but definitely direct it more toward the customer charge and towards summer usage. Propose implementing the 3%, increasing to 6% industrial customer surcharge, and then your rates are competitive even with these proposed increases. So, in your packet, there is a rate resolution. I included in my report a rate resolution that I believe has been included in your packets that would implement 2 rate changes. One would be October 1st, 2022. The second would be October 1st of 2023. I did not include anything for that third one. I would propose that after 2 years, see how your financials are doing, see how some of these project costs are doing, see if we're not paying $5 a gallon for gasoline, and maybe that rate increase isn't needed, or maybe it needs to be adjusted somewhat from that. But as part of my contract with you, you can request a study update within 3 years for a pretty steep discount, and then I'd be happy to make the 30-mile drive over here to help you out with that. So again, I know it's been a while since you had a rate study. I think your costs have been well controlled. NPPD's helped you a lot in that regard, but going forward, not sure if that's going to be the case. So, but again, I think look at your financials, watch what's going on with NPPD and your costs, and if you need to make updates to that going forward, do that. So with that, again, I apologize for the formatting of the presentation with the Zoom and everything, but appreciate the chance to work with you all. It's nice, like I said, nice to make a 20-mile, 30-mile drive instead of a 150-mile drive. And with that, if anybody has any questions, they'd like to reach out to me, on the site. That's my contact information. And with that, I open up any questions you all have.
John, you mentioned a house that's not using any electricity. We still have the cost of providing the lines, the
Yes.
transformers, everything here. We'll still have to pay our city employees manpower to take care of everything.
Correct.
Even though they don't have a light bulb on.
Yes. That's the purpose of that customer charge. That's what you're trying to collect, yes. And I think it's important to make sure that that number, I mean, I'm not saying overcharge them. I say let's at least get it to where you're charging them what you should be charging them. And, you know, I'll give you another example. I mean, I'm not sure if you have many snowbirds, you know, people who leave in January, February, March. I know I wish I did. Because sometimes, a couple Februarys ago, I certainly wished I was in Arizona. You know, to the extent those folks, you know, turn their usage way down, empty the refrigerator, unplug it, you know, they don't have much usage a lot of times either. And, you know, they're getting a subsidy. And if you can afford to go to Arizona for 3 months in the winter, you can afford to pay a $15 or $20 a month customer charge, I think, so. But yes, very good point.
Council?
In that irrigation, we're gonna blend the
Oh, that's right.
horsepower.
Right. So one other change that came up as they were going through the rate ordinance or the rate resolution, there were some conversations with staff. Your irrigation rate has a horsepower charge, it has a customer charge that has only been charged in the winter time, and then an energy charge. And so what happens is I'm suggesting, based on my work with other clients, that eliminate that customer charge in the winter, roll it into the horsepower charge. That way, you're gonna have a little higher horsepower charge. They won't have that winter customer charge. They're gonna get more ability to use it. You're not gonna get calls. You're not gonna get calls to disconnect the service in October, only to reconnect it in April, at the beginning of the irrigation season. And I think it'll simplify the rate schedule, simplify the billing, eliminates them having to go out and padlock the meter, or padlock the service in the wintertime if they choose to do that. And I'm gonna basically adjust those rates so you collect the same amount of money. I'll probably have that in the next, maybe not the next council packet, but probably in August. That'll go into effect then with your billings for next irrigation season. Again, no revenue change. I mean, they're still gonna collect the same amount. It's just gonna take the customer charge and horsepower into one, and then eliminate some of the headaches that your staff is currently seeing. So that was just, and I've had about 20 minutes to think about that one because Brian brought it up this afternoon, which is why it's not in the report, but we'll get that taken care of. And I'll get that written up, and then if you want me to come over and talk about it, I can do that as well, so.
Anna, do you have any questions? Anna Novish is the gal who does the billing. She's the one who takes the complaints in the wintertime. Why am I getting charged? You know.
I don't. I just wondered if any of them needed it simplified. You know, like you say customer charge, a lot of people don't know what that is. When he said that we take off our irrigation charge, we don't charge for them to have a meter. Like right now, you all get charged to have a meter in. In the summer, we're not charging for our irrigation customers to have that meter in. Why? And so that's why we want to implement it and put it back.
Thanks, Anna.
Sure.
Any other comments from council, staff?
When was the last rate increase, Brian?
Oh, we did those
Seems like we
2
just
years
had one.
ago. 2 years ago, and when Bob was here, we did like 2 years in a row, and then 2 years in a row.
But they're so minimal.
They were very minimal, and they were on the energy, on the kilowatt hours. It's the usage. We haven't adjusted the customer charge for a long time. So it's very minimal. When they carry out the cents, it goes like 6 places.
Sure.
I mean, it was adjusting very minimal.
That wasn't
Thank
like
you.
the hay thing, basically.
I got a question. Does this $21 then, the surcharge for, does that take care of everything else that's on the extra on the bill? I mean, just.
Well, it's designed, I mean, that's the cost of service. We aren't going straight to $21.
No, but you said like with the street lights and the,
Yes.
you know, we got all
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
So
the
that-
$21 includes the street
all
lights.
that extra stuff.
All that other extra,
Okay.
yes, yeah. So I mean, the goal would be over time to get the customer charge to 21 and eliminate the street lighting charge and eliminate a lot of those, a lot of those things, so.
Good questions.
Yes.
Anything else? If not,
Okay.
thank you, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Item 5, approve resolution 2022-08 regarding electric rate increases effective October 1, 2022. Motion to approve.
Are we in a hurry for this? Are we in a hurry for this?
Approve the resolution. It doesn't take place until October 1.
Yeah, October 1, so.
I mean, let's wait to give feedback.
Yeah, I don't think you're a hurry thing. I mean, the presentation was pretty clear. Anyone that has questions about it, we can share the information that we've been
We've got
providing.
the packets, we can share.
But
the
no, we're not in a
packets.
hurry.
No.
Is there a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
Brett Fielder seconds the motion.
Let's just get it on the agenda for next meeting and.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbon,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Euchre,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion approved to table. Item 6, approve a free swimming day sponsored by the Phillips Memorial Health Center featuring health and safe swimming tips on National Swimming Day, July 11th, 2022. Good evening, Carrie.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Berry. I am the Public Relations, Volunteers, and Foundation Coordinator at Phillips Memorial Health Center. And we are asking for approval for a free swimming day at your local pool. We are having the swimming day at 11. We'd like to have it at 11 swimming pools from Cambridge to all around the area to Elm Creek and around, really as an awareness on swimming and swimming safety practices. I looked at some statistics. The CDC estimates that every year in the U.S. there are estimated nearly 4,000 fatal unintentional drownings and over 8,000 non-fatal drownings, especially in the 1 to 4-year-old age. So we would like to help educate the community, and we thought by having a free swim day, we can educate through multiple media outlets and social media and our newspaper and so forth, and get some swimming tips, education about CPR, as well as local swim lessons at our Y and things like that. So our swim day that we would like to have is July 11th, which is National Swimming Pool Day, on a Monday. And those are the, I think in your packet, you may have seen Alma, Arapahoe, Axtell, Bertrand, Cambridge, Elm Creek, Elwood, Hildreth, Holdridge, Oxford, and Wilcox. And what we would like to do is just pay the fee for anyone who does not have a swimming pass. I've heard from a lot of pools that they don't typically have a lot of people in that, maybe to increase that day. But we would like to put a $100 minimum, that'll be our minimum donation. We would likely pay more if they have more swimmers, but we'll be gifting at least $100 for participation to the pool.
Encourage more people to come down, more kids
Yeah.
to come learn about the safety.
So,
Will you be giving safety programs throughout that time period then?
we're just gonna give safety tips, and just offer this week, like a poster, a flyer, and then having tips, in our newspaper and social media for people and connect them to how to get our CPR courses that we have at the hospital, as well as like lessons at the YMCA for swimming lessons.
Cool.
So you have some of your own staff that will be there that day?
We do not.
Okay.
We aren't planning, I mean, the pools are, they operate regular with their lifeguards and so forth, so we're just gonna let the pools function, as is, and just offer it free to the community members who want to join them.
Kim, our pool is not operating anywhere near capacity with kids lately, are they? So we have plenty of room for more people to come down and enjoy that. Any other questions from the council?
I'll make a motion to.
Lola?
I just would like to say, make sure that they have the staff, because they were closed one day during Swede days, and it was supposed to be open, didn't have staff.
I don't know if the hours were changed from when I was a kid, but they seem to be closed an awful lot this year.
The hours have changed a little bit from when we were young.
Okay.
I believe, I think the Sunday got shorted a little bit, and of course, they close early on 4th of July. It does happen occasionally that they have to adjust the schedule due to shortage of staff, and that's a product of, all the kids that work there have a lot of activities. And one other thing I've noticed is they hire a lot more kids to work there than they did when I was working there, just to try to cover, because the kids are in so many activities, but it does still happen that they have to close occasionally. However, front desk staff does their best to communicate that to everyone when it's coming up.
Have you spoken with everybody, the manager at this and all that?
Yes, yes, Justine, yes, I have.
They don't have any problems?
No.
Oh, and they close at 8. When we were little, they closed at 9. Now it closes at 8.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Was there a motion?
I made a motion to approve.
I'll second your motion.
Ben Johnson, Mary McDermott.
As long as you don't have Pat come down and help.
I won't.
You're probably a little busy.
Stipulation. Stipulation.
Smith,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbon,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Bucher,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the hospital, thank you.
Hey, thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope we have great turnout. Item 7, approve the use of city sidewalks during Holy Sidewalk Sales Day.
I believe we have Lori Larson on Zoom.
We're supposed to, but I don't see it. But I might click on him.
She was gonna present, she's got COVID.
Oh, okay.
So she didn't wanna come in person.
Typically, outside displays are banned from the downtown residences or commercial properties unless you're different zones outside of downtown. The sidewalk days have been happening for quite a few years, and they just come, kind of routine, just to ask permission to use outside displays and get more people down. They do bring a lot of people downtown.
Is she not on there?
She's not.
Lori
Who
says
is
she's
called?
still in the waiting room.
Oh, well, she's not in that waiting room. I can shut it down. Start
Oh,
it.
there we go.
Excellent.
There you go.
Okay, she's in. Hi, Lori.
Unmute her.
No, I think
She's muted.
Unmute yourself.
The paper covers annual support to Woodbridge sidewalk sales, and like the mayor just said, there's a ordinance that most people not, or prohibits people from putting things on the sidewalk. Some of the retailers that participate do not put things on their, outside of their building, but they participate in the sales, so some would like permission to do that. So the chamber is asking permission for retailers who go in the Woodbridge area to be able to participate in sidewalk sales and put stuff outside.
Ask for permission to have sidewalk sales.
What were the dates?
And the date is next weekend, sorry, July 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Typically, most of the stores are closed on Sunday, but we still like permission to take something to open.
They don't need anything from the city for this. The merchants do. They bring out the merchandise out on the sidewalks and
So it's a Sunday? She's requesting sidewalks?
Friday,
22nd
Saturday,
through
Sunday.
24th.
22nd. Oh, okay.
22nd, 23rd.
22nd, she said.
any questions or concerns?
Anything different than what's been done last year? Same thing?
Yeah, same thing. We're still waiting for some people to respond to
move to approve the chamber's request.
Mayor McDermott,
I'll second it.
Mike Sisson,
Gibbons,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Euchre,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
motion carried. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you very much.
Item 8, approve SDL and request to block off the alley on the east side of the Lostway Brewery for a fundraising event.
Hello,
Good evening.
I'm Jessica Cross. I'm with Lostway Brewery, and I have Shannon with NWTF with me today also. So essentially this event is going to take place on the 30th of this month. What we're hoping to do is use the alley in between the Eagles and Lostway, and we'll have, hopefully with your help, a fence set out, and then we'll set up picnic tables and chairs outside, tents and things like that. And then they will be serving breakfast, and we'll be serving beer, and we'll have a fundraising brunch outside.
Fundraising effort for,
NWTF, National Wild Turkey Federation?
For the local chapter.
Okay.
I did talk to Mark Beam also at the Eagles and just made sure that they don't have anything going on that day. He's double checking with everybody else on his team, but they don't have anything going on that day, so we should be good to use it from their standpoint. But
Okay. What type of a breakfast?
what's that?
What type of pancake feed?
Pancakes, sausage,
Oh, all the stuff.
yeah.
Cool.
And we'll be doing orange beers, like beer and orange juice, and then red beers, and then hopefully trying to make some type of like coffee type, iced coffee drink, so that'll be fun.
What resources do you need from the city crew?
Probably just help with fencing, but other than that, we should be good.
Any problems, Cam?
No.
And we'll use the, like the, east side of the brewery wall too, so we won't need a fence for that area. If anything, probably just the south side of the alley there, and then, along the east side as well. But not a whole lot of fence for that.
But you are gonna block the entire alley.
Correct.
Any problems with that?
I feel like you've done that exact setup more than once before,
Well, pretty much the same.
but I don't feel like we ever got any complaints about it.
What time?
So it will start at 10 a.m. and then go until noon. So I think we're gonna start setting everything up probably around 9:30. And then everything should be done and over with by 12:30.
Sounds like a great event.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Mike Sisson,
I'll
second
second.
by Trent Fuker.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Euchre,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sisson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Yeah, sounds
Thanks,
fun.
guys. Make sure you mark your calendars. Come and hang out with us. Everyone likes beer and pancakes.
Will it be turkey sausage?
Don't be picky, my guys. They're the pancakes. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Item 9, consider the Holdridge Area Public Library's annual budget request.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Burris.
All right, well, I hope you've had a chance to look over the documentation I provided. We, this coming year, are really looking to keep costs, our personnel costs and building costs as static as possible. We are seeking to increase our reliance and our programming events. As an example of what kind of increases we're having, for the past few years, we've had about 60 kids sign up for a summer reading program. Right now, we've got about 150. We have typically had 2 to 5 adults sign up for the adult summer reading program. We currently have 58. We are thrilled with this program, but we are changing out some of how our funding is allocated so that we can have more programs, have more events to bring people in and make use of their city resource, the library. We are asking for a 3% increase over last year, bringing us to a total of $382,673. We are spending that primarily in increases for, less than $1,000 increase in expenses or personnel expenses. We're increasing that in summer reading program. We've broken out children's and adult programming into separate lines in our budget and increasing that. And we're increasing our training with travel and expenses so that we can make sure that our staff have the training to put on these additional programs. So far, like I said, we've had an incredible response to our summer reading program. We would like to see that continue. And we want to make sure that this resource of the library is used by the people that are already paying for it. We want to make sure that they get what it is that they're looking for. We've added an electronic database called Niche Academy so that people can get assistance on connecting to our overdrive service at home. They don't have to call in and ask library staff, how do I get my iPad to get an ebook on there? That is something that's accessible directly from our website. We want to make sure that everything is as accessible as possible, including all of these particular programs. So that's the direction we're moving in. As you should have had a little bit more time than usual to peruse this, I'll just let you know we're doing pretty well. I think we've got room to move forward, and we're taking this ball and running with it with the number of kids and adults that have signed up for the summer reading program. We want to keep that going. Any questions, comments? Yes.
What is this transfers in category here? What is that?
That is money taken from our cash reserves to balance the budget.
And that's where your largest increase is. That's a $9,000 increase.
Yep.
Our contribution will be their largest increase.
Well, percentage increase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations on making the wise decision to do away with overdue book fines. I was really
Thank you.
impressed that you guys decided to do the progressive thing. I think it will lead to increased circulation rates and.
Yeah, I did find this morning that people are taking advantage of that. We've had about twice as many overdue notices come through our system than normal when they had to pay for them. Or as long as they bring the books back, it doesn't matter. And if somebody has been avoiding the library because they're afraid of getting done for a $4 fine, it's gone now. They don't have to worry. They can still make use of the library. Our library brought in we normally budgeted for about $2,500 income through overdue fines. We were actually bringing in less than 1,000. And given the size of that, we just did away with it. It's not worth quibbling about, especially when it can prevent people from coming into the library and using the resources that they're already paying for through the taxes.
I also wanted to ask you, what's driving the increase in the summer reading program?
We've had a lot of different efforts this summer. One is our advertising has changed quite a bit. We got grants for about $1,000, and we spent more than that printing out event calendars for everybody. We've ended up advertising what's going on in different ways to different audiences than we have before. And we've also made sure that we've booked different entertainers and educators than we have before. For instance, this last month, we had a balloon animal specialist. He's a 14-year-old kid who's got a talent and a hobby. And he and his parents traveled through Nebraska in one hectic week and stopped in at I don't know how many libraries to put on these balloon animal events for kids. So we booked him, and we had to hand out, you know, numbers to the kids in line so that we could randomly choose who gets the special ones and who gets the more run-of-the-mill balloon animals. It was amazing. And this kid certainly got his, what was it, I think a $50 appearance fee. We're doing a lot with online events as well. We've got online tours of ocean places that are available to the kids. We're finding new ways to go all out. And I think the different events and programs are bringing in a different group of people, and hopefully we get to retain them.
What's the best way for community members to be notified of special events at the library?
Our library website and our Facebook page. We have posters in the library. We've got a TV that cycles through our advertising on our ramp to the children's section upstairs. We've got, let's see, what else? Yeah, like I said, we've got a printed out schedule of all the summer reading events. That is changing a little bit this week because we just had a large percentage of our staff call in sick this morning. So events for this week are getting postponed, and we're trying to make sure that everybody's made aware of that. So we're trying to remember every place that we contacted people and trying to contact them that way again.
So this is a county library, correct?
City and county library. Yep.
And the county's increase in contribution, your request is $1,000 more?
That's what we get.
$1,100?
That's what we get when we
Ours
ask.
is 11,000?
Historically, the county refuses to keep up with supporting the library in the same manner that we do.
It's not because we don't ask.
He does go ask, that's true.
What's the budget, 60-40, isn't it?
That's
City.
what the agreement
it's not.
between the city and county is supposed to be. I am not aware of any enforcement provisions within that agreement, otherwise it would have happened. But that's the way it's supposed to be happening.
Any other questions? Or not? The council will take this in consideration at budget time.
All right, as I was saying, also I'd like to just inform you, like I said, we had a large percentage of our staff call in sick this morning. When I say large percentage, I mean 50%. Because of that, we had to close the library at 5 o'clock today. We are not going to be able to open until noon tomorrow. So hours tomorrow are going to be noon to 8. Thursday, we're only going to be able to open from 10 to 2, and Friday we've got to be closed because we just don't have the people. Fortunately, after that time, COVID quarantine times will be over. We'll get quite a few of them back, but we're trying to deal with what we've got. Just so if you hear about the library being closed, that's why. It was a very fun, well, you know those days when everything happens all at once? That's what my office felt like this morning at about 8:15. So, all right, thank you for hearing me out, and I sincerely hope that you all get to come and experience the library events for yourself.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 10, consider the Nebraska Prairie Museum annual report and budget request.
Yeah, evening. Happy to be on the end of the line. I was telling Dane I watch all the city council from YouTube, so it's kind of nice since you guys have been doing that. So that's been nice. Yeah, everybody has it. This is kind of my one time a year I come up and ask if you guys would put a budget item in for the museum for a general donation. One of the biggest deals with these donations that is very important is it's not a grant. Grants really love to pay for new shiny things. Those really aren't there to pay for the electricity, which you guys were talking about. And so what ends up happening is this kind of a donation is very important for balancing our budget at the museum. And I am also looking at expanding some of the programming and things like that we have. And we've just always been working hard out there, and I think this year we had a good Swedish Days dinner. We had a really good turnout for that. We have a summer intern this summer, which is nice. That's kind of sometimes hit and miss. Sam Bonzoff, his dad is the manager at Aldridge Marketplace. Yeah. And so he's been invaluable. He's from Doane. And so we've been rearranging the military, I call it the cake tier. And so we've been doing some really cool things. I've also been looking at creating a program for the Historical Society where we work with either homeowners, business owners, and work on, if they want to, get on the National Endowment Registry for historical places. I've kind of gotten a tester out working with Christian homes, and so far that's been coming together pretty well. So using that as a test pilot for going forward. There's currently 4 locations in the county, which is below the state average by about 3. So yeah, so we're just going forward. Like I say, this budget is something that it really helps us out a great deal because every year I can always hopefully count on a city and county donation just to kind of help zero and balance that book at the end of the year, which really helps. So.
What was our commitment last year?
I think I asked for 4, and I think I got 2 or 3,000. I'm asking for an increase, especially this year among a lot of past years, and that's with inflation like everything. Things are not getting cheaper, and we have a really amazing facility out there, and my goal is to keep it that way. So I'm asking for a little bit more, just to kind of adjust for things. I know, Chris, you're saying nothing's getting cheaper, especially on your guys' end. So budget, I don't pity you guys for budgeting and doing everything you guys do. So, but it really does mean a lot, and it helps out a lot.
It brings people to town. Not only, you know, to show what we have to be proud of, but show it to visitors that are gonna come in. They're not gonna visit the museum, they're gonna eat at our restaurants, they're gonna stay at our hotels, they're gonna stop downtown at the shops and contribute to the sales tax revenue also.
It does bring in people.
Yeah. And I've noticed too, I mean, you guys were talking with the library, our genealogy library are top notch.
Yep.
I like to say they know every person, live or dead, like the back of their hand that ever worked or did anything in this county, and it's phenomenal what they can do. It's almost kind of scary a little bit. They can be like, you know, oh, this person lived in this house from this time. Oh, they sold that and then moved over here. They can find some crazy stuff. So it's really cool. I'm looking at some new exhibits for our town square area, updating those, reaching out. I think our next displays, one is going to be kind of on the citizen, which will be, I think, kind of interesting. We're going to be moving some things around. And then another one in the future, I'm calling it the Project Donut, and that's because it's going to be surrounding our police station that's in the town square. Like a donut.
What?
And so that's going to be kind of a telecommunications history kind of going around that space if you're familiar with the town square, the way it's laid out. So always those little things that keep us updated, keep us modern, changing. Another reason for people to come visit us again.
Any
So.
upcoming events you want to speak about?
We are hosting the Nebraska State, it's a Nebraska State recognition ceremony or nomination thing. It's with History Nebraska. They're going to be promoting it a lot, but it's 6 o'clock at the museum on June 25th. We're also or January 25th coming up.
January?
Yeah, January. So there'll be more information there on that. Myself, I'm not super familiar. I'm more on the logistics and making sure the room's ready, but they're promoting it and stuff, so I'm kind of letting them do that. And then other than that, we're looking to increase, instead of doing 4 programs throughout the year, we're going to increase that to 6 to 8, hopefully. And that's just to get, we kind of have our usual crowd, but we want to try and create a more diverse topics that we would bring speakers in. And talk about more variety of topics with that, and just kind of utilizing our museum meeting room more. So yeah.
What happened to the corn picking?
Yes. So this year we planted beans, if you haven't driven by, and we agreed to host the corn husking competition for 2 years. We did not want to end up having it every single year, like what Gothenburg, they had it pretty much every single year. To say that we didn't break even is kind of an understatement. It's not a profit motive, but that's not really why we hosted it. And so we kind of signed on for 2 years knowing it was going to be a budgeted item. And so we've given that up to the up in the air, so to say, and nobody's really picked it up. Stir really played with it for a while, but they've got so many tiers of boards that it's hard to get things done within a year to try and get them to sign on to something. So, but yeah, no, we're always happy to host some things and do those things. But next year we're planning for another antique harvest, so not quite a hand picking competition. That one had a lot more logistics to it, where the picking, they just old guys with old tractors, and as long as nobody breaks down, they're cooking. So, but a lot of volunteer support. We have a really dedicated group of volunteers that help out a lot, and so yeah, coffee breaks out at the museum 10:30 every day. You're always welcome to join. They're pretty dedicated on the clock. They come get me, but if we're running late.
I was waiting for the donut part.
We have donuts occasionally. You're welcome to bring.
They don't last long.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening to that as a budget item. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to let me know. If anybody has any cool project ideas, I'm always game. We talked about a couple, I think, here and there. And yeah, I don't have very much more. And we're always a resource for the city too. If you need to look up, easement history or old picture of a house or an old picture of a building, we have surprisingly how much content we have out there. So if even in your own personal business, if you want to be like, curious of what we have, we posted it on our Facebook page. Check it out. Of a 1917, I think it was for V-Day, for World War I V-Day, but a woman hand sewed a flag that covered the Johnson building. The picture's on our Facebook. Check it out. Everybody asked, where's that at? Where's that? I wish we had it, because that's really cool. So we have a lot of really rich history in this community and rich history in the county, and we're happy to be a part of it. So
it's an amazing picture.
Yeah,
it is.
Mike, I see in the budget back in 2019, we had 2,000. The next year it was 3,000. We're up to 5,000. But we do have the occupation tax we get off the hotels. And I think that we could easily cover that. That the hotels, we're bringing people to town with the museum.
Yeah.
So I think we need to look at that seriously.
I'm always happy to ask for more if you really.
Here you are.
I'm just trying to justify it.
Yeah. I am also looking. We're maybe thinking of expanding our staff in the near future. Our staff is getting older, and one had a pretty bad health episode there for a while, and so we're looking at maybe hiring two in the future. So this is maybe a little bit of an easement while we're in this current fiscal year. So yeah. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Micah.
Thank you, Micah. Okay, item 11, approve interlocal agreement with Homereach Rural Fire Protection District 6 for the purchase of a new aerial fire truck. And this
This is
one,
just finalizing so we can make payment on the truck when it shows up next week.
You got the truck next week?
I think it's supposed to, is it now, it's
Yeah,
the
they-
14th or
I think that the company that we purchased it from actually wanted to deliver last week, and
Right.
they said we need some time to
I think the
get
rural
the
Really?
board,
agreements
the
approved.
rural board's gonna do this next week on Monday, I believe, and so they're gonna deliver the truck, I believe, on the 14th.
Isn't that sooner than what we anticipated?
They were able
2
to
years.
get a demo truck, which sped up the time significantly.
Wow.
So,
we
Did
paid a
you
little
get
extra
rid of
for it.
the other one yet?
No, we're still debating on what we're gonna do with that. Might be a, city council limousine or something. Nobody wants it. They've had it for sale for 6 weeks, have had no interest in it.
Donate it to the museum for this.
We've talked about scrap iron, we've talked about using it, just different things, so. We'll probably take it out and park it out of the landfill on the fenced area on the west side, until we figure out what we're gonna do with it when the new one shows up.
But with the interlocal agreement, that doesn't affect our budget.
No, it does not actually, it'll help our budget, because we can offset it through the lid with an interlocal agreement.
Awesome. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Gibbons, Trent Fuker,
Arrington,
Yes.
Euchre,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Givens.
Yes.
awesome. Item 12, approve the appointment of Kelly Gear to the City of Holdridge Planning Commission, fulfilling the unexpired term of Tom Russ. Seems like I'm getting pretty good at recruiting. When I retire, I can go into recruitment maybe.
Been doing a lot of it.
And Kelly doesn't live in town, but I went intentionally searching outside of the city limits. We have the jurisdiction of 2 miles. Kelly's dad, Curly, was on the planning commission for quite a few years. In our code, it says technically we're supposed to have somebody to represent the people in that 2-mile jurisdiction. It took me 3 tries to get somebody, but Kelly will do a good job on that. So I make a ask for the approve the appointment.
Does he know you nominated him?
Not yet.
Well, then I'll make a motion to approve it.
Yeah, then he will.
Ben Johnson, second by Dale.
Smith,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Arrington,
Yes.
Euchre,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Awesome. Open discussion for staff and the council. Chris.
Nothing tonight.
City clerk,
No, thank you. Good.
Chief McIntyre.
Nothing new that's already listed. I mean,
You don't have anything going on?
got lots going on. You probably don't wanna know about it.
Next.
No, we're good.
Ben?
No, I just wanted to touch base on what Mr. Lammers had brought up. He brought up a good point. This Thursday night, we were sitting out on the porch and we watched, I'm assuming high school kids come by, and it turned into a drag race right there. And they raced all the way down to the water tower pretty much. And it was probably, I want to say, 2 minutes later, some of those kids that Jess was speaking of come running across that street there to go set up to watch fireworks down there in the parking lot area. And those kids would never have seen them if they were there 2 minutes sooner. So he brings up a good point, as colorful as he does, but Yeah, I think that's something we definitely need to look into. I don't know what the answer is, but I did kind of like the reflective speed bump idea he mentioned. So something, I don't think it quite warrants a traffic light or anything, but there is a lot of high traffic there, and there is a lot of negligent drivers there also. So I think maybe we should look into doing something to maybe hopefully slow people down. And there are slow children playing signs down Blaine Street, but I think that was provided by one of the people that live there. So, and that's not usually the problem on Blaine Street. It's usually
Coming around your
Come
corner.
around that corner.
come around his and they just fly. So he brings up a good point, and I think it's something we need to.
From East Avenue to Dairy Queen, it's a straight shot. It's,
Yep.
Do you wanna
Mr.
send that
Puker.
to a safety committee, or
Um,
who you make point first on that?
I mean, I would think it falls in the safety department, if you guys wanna brainstorm on it.
Marty probably have some ideas for it.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
doesn't
pick the new chief's mind, see what kind of ideas he's got in his head.
Some tire shutters?
Right.
Training.
But point was, he brought up a valid point.
I can see how people turn that corner with placing
To do
it's
this.
a pretty straight shot, you don't have to worry about cross traffic.
It's a high traffic area for children too.
Well, yeah, not just the pool, but now you have the skateboarders using the multi-use courts.
That's right.
And it's getting way more active also, so.
It is.
Ever since they got the dandelions taken care of over there.
Mr. Puker.
No, I can't follow that.
Mr. Harrington.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Sisson.
I don't have nothing.
And Ms. McDermott.
Elizabeth said that a gal came into the pool and asked if she could purchase and donate to the city pool a popcorn machine. And Elizabeth didn't know the gal's name, but somebody bought the pool a popcorn machine.
We didn't have a popcorn machine?
No, I don't think we were.
That was my highlight when I got done swimming. That was always a highlight when I was a kid.
I've never known there ever be a popcorn machine there, but
They
Elizabeth,
had the
someone.
best popcorn down there.
Yeah, they had popcorn.
Oh, I must have missed a couple generations, but, yeah, Elizabeth said that someone donated a popcorn machine, so now she's frying up popcorn and they sell it for like, I don't know, 50 cents a bag or something, so don't know the name of the woman who donated it, but thank you to
Awesome.
whoever that was. Kids seem to like it.
Mrs. Mueller.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Mueller.
Which Mueller?
Well, Gary Mueller's.
Oh,
Oh,
Sally.
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 Oh, nice.
Well,
that's
awesome.
nice, yeah.
Great.
Very nice.
Nothing.
Natalie?
Nothing for me.
Kim?
Nothing.
What are we sitting on the pickleball nets on the South Park?
We weren't gonna buy any at the time. We, I believe the Y has some, so if somebody wanted to play, we could borrow them from them. But at this point in time, we weren't gonna purchase any.
Okay.
But I can check them to see what they're gonna cost.
I don't know if you, temporary, permanent, you know, what do you
Well, they
do
can't
for-
be permanent because then they couldn't play basketball.
Yeah, that's gonna be,
So they would have to be temporary.
What if we, Kim, what if we built like a little shack over in that corner or something to where we could store that stuff? And if they wanted to play, they could get it out.
Well, the biggest thing is that she stated that there's a lot of kids down there, and how far are you gonna trust them? I mean, they would just have to call us, let us know when they wanna use them, then we'd have to get them out and install them and then put them away. I don't think we give free range to them. I mean, we did that with, tried to, that's why all the picnic tables in the North Park were bolted down, because otherwise they'd end up in a lake.
Fair enough.
Mr. Brinkman?
I don't have anything.
Mayor, congratulations to Natalie. Since she's gonna be shy about it.
She didn't say anything about it. Mrs. Pacey now. Yeah, awesome. Well, this meeting is adjourned.
I didn't say anything, like, I didn't want to out her, but. No, she didn't say a word.
I don't have to decide till November.
Yeah, you too.
July, then we'll have a couple budget hearings. It was the 20th, I think you're right, they did change it, I think they gave us, what was like, right around the third week of September. We kind of